Finally, we're getting a little reprieve from the heat. Hi, I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings, and in today's video, I am at the Garden Center. We're located in Zeeland, Michigan, and we are a Proven Winners signature garden. So what exactly does that mean? That means we have a huge selection of Proven Winners annuals, perennials, and shrubs in all of the garden beds around the property. As well as having all those great plants out in our garden bed, we also are a mail order company and we ship plants all over the United States. So if there's any plants in today's video that look of interest to you, you can head to our website, gardencrossings.com, or you can come visit us here in Zeeland, Michigan and check out our beautiful garden center. So in today's video, we're going to take a look at some of the container combinations that we put together earlier this spring and just looking to see how they have fared. Once it gets to August, a lot of times containers start to look a little tired and spent. Surprisingly, I think you're going to find that ours are doing pretty well. We're going to also take a look at some of the new Proven Winner varieties for 2026, some of those new annuals. We'll just quick touch base on how they're doing so you can kind of get an update of, after this hot, humid summer here, how they're holding up. At this point in the season, it's almost a little hard to even imagine what this container looked like earlier on this spring. So we're going to go ahead and pop some pictures up so you can see the when it was planted look compared to what it's looking like now. So really, as we're looking at this container, there's just really three things that are standing out. And that's the sweet potato vine. This jet black sweet potato vine has literally taken over this container. And it's gorgeous. It's looking great, even here late in the season. On top of that, we have a beautiful mound of the Kufia vermillionaire. And this plant has been favored by the hummingbirds all summer long. And then as a thriller in the container, we have our palm tree, which we plant those, just give these planters kind of a tropical feel to start off with. But as you can see, as the season goes on, it's really these Proven Winner annuals that steal the show. I was joking with Rod the other day that I feel like this planter just needs like a giant doll in the center with these Supertunia Tira Pink acting like the dress. Honestly, I don't even remember all of the plants that we planted in this container when we started off this spring. I do know, though, that this planter only had 2 of the Supertunia Tira Pinks planted in it when it began. And now that it's August here, you can see that those 2 Tira Pinks have absolutely taken over this container combination. We do still have the palm poking out on top here, giving this planter a nice thriller look. A couple of the Angelonia Perfectly Pink are still showing, but really it's that Supertunia Tira Pink that is absolutely taking over the show of this container. And this just goes to show how powerful just 2 of those Supertunia Tira Pink can be when creating a container combination. They have excellent ground coverage if you're looking to create a mass of color. You can hardly see where the Tira Pink ends and the Supertunia Vista Jazzberry begin. It's such a cool look, and I love how they've kind of just grown into each other and created just this massive display of summer color. On either side of our entrance, we have 2 gorgeous matching planters, and these have just gotten huge. So I must mention, all of the plants that are planted in these containers are in aquapot planters. The aquapot planters are a self-watering planter, so these plants are continually getting watered and fed as the summer has gone along. Usually about every 3 to 5 days, the growers will come out and fill the reservoirs. And when they fill the reservoirs, they're also putting fertilizer down in there, so that way these plants are getting that constant water and feed that they need throughout the summer. And you can see proof is in the plants. If you feed them, they will continue to look fabulous all summer long. So in this planter here, I mean, this thing is taller than I am right now, and it is done really nice. It's kept 3 different colors or 3 different varieties of plants showing. And again, I'm not sure how many varieties were planted. We'll pop up a picture, but you can see in the end, the 3 that have been the most prolific and have done the best. Now, I probably should have said 4 because really there's this palm in the center as well. But I'm talking more about the Proven Winner plants that we planted. So in this container, the thriller that we used was the Salvia Unplugged Purple. And this salvia is just really, really huge. The thing I like about Unplugged Purple is it attracts the hummingbirds. So this again is another planter where, as we're working inside the store, we're seeing a lot of that hummingbird action happening. So those are the thrillers. Next, we have the fillers, which are the Super Bells. This is the Prismum Pink Lemonade, and they are really putting on kind of a nice color show just underneath those salvia. And then for the spiller in this container, we have the Dichondra Silver Falls, which you can see the Dichondra Silver Falls itself too is a very aggressive growing vine. I love to use Silver Falls in a lot of the planters because it's a great color that matches with anything, and I love the look that it adds. So this is doing fantastic, and man, just a gorgeous ball of beauty. And speaking of ball of beauty, we're going to take a look next here at the Weekender hanging baskets, and they have done fabulous all summer as well. So we've got our gorgeous Weekender hanging baskets, and at first when we planted these up, I wasn't sure how they were going to do. So we have the jet black sweet potato vine, we have the Supertunia Terra Pink, and then in here is also the Supertunia Mini Vista White. So when they were planted, we planted I think twice as many white as we did the pink, knowing the pink was going to get aggressive. But the thing is when these first came out here in May, these baskets were predominantly the black of the sweet potato vine and the white of the Supertunia Mini Vista White. And I thought to myself, oh no, I don't want white, because the building is white, and I didn't want them to blend in with the garden center. I wanted it to really pop. Well, as the summer kind of continued to go on, we got into June, the pink really started to show its color, and it started to kind of balance out a little bit. Well, now here that we're in August, you can see that the pink has just absolutely taken over almost all of the white that are in these planters. The other thing is when these started off, they were 3 hanging baskets, the Weekender hanging baskets, which too are a self-watering basket. Will go about every 3 days or so between filling their water reservoirs. And now that they've had all summer to grow, they've turned into just a giant column of color. And this is really the look that we've wanted flanking the entrance here of the garden center, because as you walk in, it hits you, just a ball of gorgeous color. So we've been really happy with these Weekender hanging baskets, and this is a product that we do sell on our website or in the store here as well. These here are 24-inch baskets, so these are really large baskets for more, large, grandiose entrances. Where the ones that we sell for an average consumer are smaller and are more size appropriate for an average size house. But man, if you can get this gorgeous color without having to go out and water your hanging baskets every day, that is a huge time saver. And also too, it's kind of like insurance for your investment. Just keeping them watered and fed ensures that they'll look good all summer long. Here we're going to start taking a look at some of the new annuals for 2026. These are the proven winter samples we were sent earlier this summer, and we have them planted along our parking lot. One of the reasons is because they're right up front center, so we can just kind of watch and observe them every day how they're doing. Also, we have them here because as the customers are driving in and out of the parking lot, they're able to see things that maybe don't look quite like something they've seen before. So they're able to see what's coming for the following season. We've had a lot of great things in the bed this year, things that have done absolutely fantastic. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at some of those varieties that have really put on an excellent show of color. I've also done trials of these at my home garden in containers, and I think I'm seeing a lot along the same lines of the things that are doing well here in the ground are also the same things that have done well in the containers. This is a full sun garden, so all of these plants are getting sun from sun up until the end of the day. So none of these plants are really a shade variety. They're all things that can handle full sun. All of these plants too can be not only planted in the ground like we did here, but they also too can be planted in containers. So depending on what your gardening style is, there's an application for these plants in the ground or in a container. So let's take a closer look at some of them and just see how they're doing. Sweet Caroline Medusa Black has been an absolute monster of a ground cover. There were 3 plants planted here, so a lot of these are going to be a grouping of 3, just to give you an idea of how many plants were used to create the look. But look at all of that deep dark foliage. And the green that you're seeing come through, that's some of the newer growth. But I love the serrated edges on the leaves. It just gives so much texture and so much contrast. And you can see how much it has grown over the side into the parking lot. It's at least 2.5 to 3 foot outside the boundary of where it was originally planted. So it's definitely a great choice for a ground cover, but also keep in mind too, if you plant it in a planter, you really only need one because it's going to really cover a lot of ground. We have the Supertunia Cool Jazz. This is a Vista Cool Jazz. And oh man, these plants have done fantastic, not only here at the greenhouse, but at my home as well. Just a softer color of jazzberry, excellent ground cover. One plant can get 2 to 3 foot wide and about 18 or so inches tall. So I'm really excited about adding this new color in to the Vista series of petunias. There's a new cascading begonia, part of the Surefire series. This is Cascade Red. Now, unfortunately, we did not plant it in a container to show you the cascading effect, so it's a little hard to show just based off of what you're seeing here in the landscape. So more so, let's just look at it for the gorgeous display of flowers, like a lot of flower coverage. I know a lot of times begonias can be a lot of foliage, not a lot of flowers, but this Cascade Red is really putting on a nice show of color. Nice, bright, rich red up against that deep green. I think that really has a nice look to it. We have a planter there next to it that has the Alocasia Emerald Isle along with the Cherry Cordial Surefire begonias. And I could see next year, instead of using the Cherry Cordial, to put this Surefire Cascading Red in because it's going to give more of that cascading habit. So I think that will look really cool next year if we use that in a container. Because it's just great coverage of color. We've got the new Phlox series. This is, it was Intensia, now it's Southern Comfort, I believe. And the Phlox are a nice drought tolerant plant. And I love this hot pink color. So this is a great addition to the color line of the Phlox. In the past, they were called the Intensia series. But man, that is one of the most gorgeous pink colors. And it actually looks pretty nice there with that red, or back it up a little bit and look at it there next to the Lobellaria White Knight. That too is a nice combination of color. Mini Vista series, there is a new one called Pink Cloud. A little bit smaller flowers, which is kind of typical of the Mini Vista series. Gorgeous pink with that white center, and it's just creating a massive mound of color. So not only are the Vista great for in the landscape, the Mini Vistas as well are a great landscape petunia. Also, they can be used in containers, but I think it's nice to show them in the landscape as well. Planted again with the Lobellaria White Knight. So we also did some lobelia in the garden, and you can see the lobelia it was too hot here for them. A lot of greenery. They had a lot of flowers at one point, but right now it's too late in the season, too hot, and the flowers are pretty much gone. But one thing I am noticing is, let's go in close here, and you can see that's where all the flowers were. If we look here at the base of the plant, it does look like it's trying to recover with fresh new growth, which perhaps in the fall when it cools off, we may see another flush of flower. So that's something that I think I'll want to watch and see. There's also a new series of Agastache coming out. It's going to be an annual series. Maestro is a series. And I honestly have not been impressed with them. They flowered for a little bit, but right now there's just a whole lot of spent blooms. So there's a lot of other Agastache out there that I think are better, bloom longer, and have a better display of color. They are reflushing, so there is a lot of new growth coming on these plants. So I'm sure if our season was long enough, we could get another cycle of blooms. But for us in Michigan here, they didn't do as much as I was hoping they would do. So that's just my honest opinion. I'll let you decide for yourself, what you think. So this here is a Super Belle. This is part of the Magic series. This is the pink grapefruit. And you'll notice there's a lot of yellow going on, just a little bit of pink. One thing we've noticed is in cooler temperature, there was more pink. When it was warm, there was more yellow. So this is one where the flower color kind of changed depending on the temperatures. Now, Super Belles are not best suited for ground plantings. So these are definitely doing better in my containers than what we're seeing here in the ground. Although, to be honest, they're not doing terrible. But typically we wouldn't recommend planting Super Belles in the ground. More of that Pink Cloud just to show you how well it's doing in other areas. More of the Medusa Black. Is that just not amazing? That is such a prolific ground cover. The Phlox looking beautiful, and that's actually kind of a nice combination. But don't be fooled, the sweet potato vine would take over the Phlox by the end of the summer. More of the Cool Jazz Supertunia. And you can see too how these have crept their way out onto the parking lot went well beyond the boundary of where they were planted. So a great plant for just masses of color. As we continue on, another sweet potato vine. I mean, this one is almost 4 foot out onto the landscape. So just a mass of foliage color. Here's a few more of the magic pink grapefruit. Again, not that great, and it's not the plant. The plant's an awesome plant. It's just the location we put it in. Some new James Britannia, and these are not doing so great here either. I think we would have been better putting them. This area is too wet for them. They like it just a little bit drier. So don't look at the habit of the plant, just look more at the flower color. A beautiful rich red is a new addition to the James Britannia series. We've got some new Bidens coming out, more of a reddish flower. And with these here, we just kind of sprinkled them through. I think there's 5 plants planted. We did it more as a ground cover. This is a drought tolerant plant, and it's bloomed all summer long with no deadheading. And that's true of all of these annuals. We haven't done any deadheading or picking or trimming or anything on any of them. And they've just continued to shine all summer long. Another sweet potato vine. I love this because I love the two-tone color, the green and the dark foliage. And then there's also that little splotching going on. So this one I also have in a container, and this one stayed very well behaved. Usually by midsummer, Rod's ready to rip out sweet potato vine out of our container because it just gets too aggressive. But I also recommend one sweet potato vine. You don't need multiples because one goes a very long way in containers, hanging baskets, or even as you can see here in a ground planting, this was 3 of them. And it's really filling out the space very well. New Angelonia, this is the blue, and this is doing really good. Great thriller. They're about 24 to 30 inches tall. Typically you think of Angelonia as a thriller for a container combination, but if you have them planted as maybe a back border in an annual garden, they would give a lot of upright color. And also too, I like how they kind of just swing and sway in the breeze. More of the Supertunia Cool Jazz, again to show you it just, you know, in different areas, because I can show you one plant that looks gorgeous, but if I can show it to you in multiple areas, it really goes to show that the plant is fantastic. More of that Intensia Phlox, the Pink Cloud Mini Vista. This bed here is very wet, especially along the edge. So you'll notice that the lobal area here, White Knight's not doing so good. And that's because it's a very wet, squishy area in the garden. And some of the plants are not loving all of the wetness that this area is giving it. I love what we did in this bed this year with alternating the Sun Patient color. Sometimes we're a little hesitant to do this because even though these are the compact series of Sun Patient, we'll get a little bit of that up-down feel because they have a slightly different height to them. But this compact white and the compact, I think this is a purple candy stripe, have very similar heights to them and really did a great job of outlining this bed. Last year we had some Supertunia Midnight in here, and it was too dark. It didn't pop. And I didn't want to do all white. I wanted to have a little splash of color. And by alternating that white and that purple together, really, I think, knocked it out of the park as far as the look that I was hoping for in this garden. So we're going to go ahead and call it a day. We will be doing another follow-up video on all of the various gardens within the property here at Garden Crossing. So stay tuned for that. In the next few days, we'll be featuring the different garden spaces. So there's lots to look at, lots to talk about. Thanks for walking through the gardens with me today. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. If there's any plants that you're interested, you can head to our website, gardencrossings.com, and we can ship them directly to your door, or you can come visit us here in Zeeland, Michigan. Thanks for watching. I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings.